Hey guys, welcome back to another video here at All I See Is W, where the goal of this channel is to gain on positive proceeds and lead with an altruistic mindset. In today's video, I'd like to go through Bitcoin updates as well as cover the latest news with strategy, MicroStrategy, MSTR. We'll go through my price predictions of Bitcoin, as well as sharing with you interesting clips with Saylor's recent updates. So I would encourage you to watch through the entire video to see that, as well as my price predictions with Bitcoin commodity and strategies share price. Now, if you're new to this channel, first off, I would really appreciate the support with the like, subscribe for more related content. So what we've been hearing all around the Bitcoin news is just with global game theory, with potential strategic Bitcoin reserve at the state level. We haven't heard any state buy Bitcoin yet, but I think that this is very possible that we're going to hear at one point a state actually buying up Bitcoin. We've actually heard a number of states buying up Bitcoin related ETFs, so that's good news there. And we're seeing so many states trying to get approvals from the Senate on their bill. I think we're just at a matter of time where any news will just rocket launch the price of Bitcoin. The whole future of Bitcoin, it's really shaped around the ecosystem that Satoshi has designed and developed. And we see Michael Saylor with this beautiful branding, this story that he's able to tell and get investors to believe in his company. He's really made a difference in that this is really shaping the future of how we see cyberspace and the law of economics being applied to Bitcoin. So that's why Bitcoin price, it's only going to keep going up when you look at it from a zoomed out perspective. And what does that mean with strategy share price? We're only at the beginning. Think of this as like the early birth phase of like the Magnificent Seven, similar to like Amazon, Apple, Nvidia, when these companies barely just started. Just looking at strategy, I mean, they started buying up Bitcoin since 2020 during that COVID time, but they've been just so resilient. Company Saylor took a risk, right? Should I pivot away from being a software company to now a company that will just hold on with its entire balance sheet, holding on to Bitcoin? That's just huge conviction there. No other company has done that. But let's now dive deep and talk about just the updates I'd like to share with you. What we're looking at here is just overall technicals of price of Bitcoin. So where we are headed, we're at that healthy consolidation, especially with, Trump being announced the president back in November. We've been at this healthy consolidation phase here, well above the Ichimoku cloud. I think where we currently are, we're hovering right at that point of, breaking through that cloud. We want to get above that cloud. We don't want to get that gravitational pull down. But I do think that we're at that healthy consolidation. I think this is really good news, especially just going up, from like 2024 to 2025. We see, just that healthy increase from like, that 40,000 to where we are breaking through that $100,000. It's good to see these pullbacks here. Price of Bitcoin can't always just go up, but having this consistent consolidation, similar to what we saw back in April, I think we're ready for that next gap up as we transition from February to March. We're expected to see some run-ups to like 130, 150,000 as we head into the 2025 with any catalyst news, whether it's other countries FOMOing in, whether it's global financial institutions, strategic Bitcoin reserve, Texas, for example, getting SB 21 approved, where they start buying up Bitcoin. Anything can really launch up the price, cause a supply shock. And let's say if the United States changes capital gains tax on Bitcoin, we're hearing that a lot across like international countries, allowing for like, capital gains not to be taxed on Bitcoin. That's really going to attract a lot of investors, getting exposure towards Bitcoin. But from a technicals analysis here, I think, a lot of people are becoming impatient trying to look for plays that have big run-ups. But I think with Bitcoin long-term perspective, it's only going to keep going up here. 2025, why do I think we're not out of the woods? Just based on this posting here. So from Plan B, well-respected guy here, all Bitcoin gain is made in the red period 6 months before halving until 18 months after a halving. So what we do know is the last halving event was April 2024. So all of those gains we saw happened, pre-halving before April and after April, 18 months after the halving. So that leaves us to sometime around the October timeframe transition to Q4, where we're expected to see the blue dots kick in based on historical data points. So anytime from now up through October, we're expected to see relative strength index of Bitcoin to ramp up, where we're going to start seeing that FOMO kick in. So I think this is where the appreciation of Bitcoin commodity is going to start ramping up very soon here. Let's take a look at this posting here from Bitcoin Stacker. MicroStrategy Bitcoin holdings worth over $46 billion. Dollars. What will happen if other big companies will follow the strategy of Saylor and even the strategic Bitcoin reserve will start? We are so early. It's like buying Apple stocks in 2009. We all will be rich. So you see here with this visual, ever since 2020, Michael Saylor has been buying up Bitcoin, whether it's below $10,000 per coin, whether it's $50,000 per coin, whether it's over $100,000 per coin. Key thing is dollar cost average when you can. Any money that he can borrow through that analogy of, being like a vacuum, sucking up all of that money like a black hole and then spitting it out, buying up Bitcoin so that shareholders can make money just through this business model of continuous buying of Bitcoin. We know that we're operating based on 21 millions of Bitcoins. That's the fixed number. We can't increase that number or decrease it. So for that reason, the strategy is to continue to buy as much as Bitcoin as possible until this supply shock kicks in, where Bitcoin price goes multi-million dollars per coin. Let's take a look at this visual here. So what we do notice is that there is that blow off top at $543 back in November. In fact, 2024 performance at one point was like 800% gains. MicroStrategy ended the market at 400% gain, so dropping by about 50%, towards the end of the year from that run up of November. So we saw that falling wedge knife, but overall, just from the last 3 months, we're seeing here, consolidation where we're seeing that support be established at, the low $300. I don't think it's going to get any lower than $280, but key thing here is that we're going to start seeing that reverse pattern ramp up. You see this green arrow here up to 543, but I do think that as we head into April, we may very well see some huge bullish action where the volume starts picking up. In fact, we're seeing financial institutions buying up MicroStrategy as well. Even the state of California uh, teacher retirement fund, they're actually buying up strategy as well. Even Canadian banks, Cantor Fitzgerald, loading up with $1 billion. Dollars. We'll go through those details, but I think that there's just going to be a supply shock, even not only with Bitcoin, but strategy, because now we're beginning to see that strategy is the ultimate leverage to Bitcoin and just letting the data tell the story here. I mean, we're seeing a lot of consistency. Let's take a look at this posting here from, Jeff Walton, commenting about Howard Lutnick, the U.S. Secretary of Commerce. Yeah, his company holds 1.3 billion of MSTR and he personally holds hundreds of millions of dollars of Bitcoin. This is the guy in charge of the US Sovereign Wealth Fund. We're going up. So we've heard, let Next speak during the Nashville conference. And just recently, this guy leads Cantor Fitzgerald. He had $1 billion invested into MSTR recently. So he knows where this is headed. He's hedging against these Bitcoin related plays here. Let's take a look at this posting here from Cryptos R Us. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick's Cantor Fitzgerald increases Bitcoin exposure. Everyone wants Bitcoin exposure, and that's through, holding on to Bitcoin commodity or Bitcoin ETFs or Bitcoin related miners or even MicroStrategy. And what we're seeing here added in Q4, you see here Cantor Fitzgerald, Howard Lutnick's U.S. Commerce Secretary, who spoke at the Nashville conference. He just increased shares of MSTR in Q4, $1 billion worth. And you see here Mara holdings of 170,000 shares, IBIT 1.1 million shares of IBIT ETFs here. So Howard Lutnick, he's leading the show here for the U.S. Commerce Secretary and for Cantor Fitzgerald Financial Institution, loading the boat with MSTR, MARA, and IBIT. What does that mean? We see some huge potential upside. Let's take a look at this posting here, in that no one wants MSTR at a 100 billion market cap. Everyone will want MSTR at 1 trillion market cap. So it's interesting, and I think this is just human nature where when things go up, that's when people want to, follow the herd and start buying when you see evidence of things running up. But that's when you start, potentially drowning in the water because you're buying at a higher cost and anything can happen there. But I think that where we currently are, definitely undervalued with MSTR. And at one point, I very well see the price go up even, far beyond where it currently is. Can you imagine as soon as price of Bitcoin breaks through the near term of 200,000? What about when it gets to, 1 million per price of Bitcoin? That's just going to just drive up the price of MSTR. But that's just human nature, following the herd. And key thing with Bitcoin is that when you look at like, people, playing casino games and all that, the house always has higher odds of winning. But when you invest into like Bitcoin or like, MSTR, you actually have an advantage in that, you know, Bitcoin has the advantage because when you compare that to like the fiat money, you're not dealing with inflation with that 7, 8% inflation where the government will continue to print money. You actually have an advantage where price of Bitcoin will just continue to go up, and the governments are seeing that as the combat to inflation, which is why now global game theory is really kicking in. I think everyone is beginning to research the level of effort for strategic Bitcoin reserve, all of that. The way that Bitcoin has been designed, everyone believes in it, and it has that way of proving transparency, and it's not corrupted, where everything is validated through the blockchain, full transparency. You can't rip anyone off when it comes to the blockchain. So that's why Bitcoin has really demonstrated itself that it's the future of the cyberspace, and that's why Saylor has done so well with this company to get the company in terms of growing it to, close to $100 billion, and eventually will transform into a multi-trillion dollar market capitalization company. Just my technicals here. So what I do see is, a bullish flag pattern drawn out here. And I think that just with the RSI being at that low $40, we're going to start seeing that, reverse pattern kick in, top off of 550, near term 550 retest prior resistance. But I think, heading into April, who knows, we could very well break through that 750 range. But as Bitcoin price in 2025, as we get close towards that, transition to Q4, we could very well see this ramp up to $1,200 as Bitcoin price breaks through, $200,000. With that, I will like you to see the recent clip from Michael Saylor from today's interview. I'll play that short clip here for you.
And had a list of questions for Michael. And about 10 minutes before we sat down on the stage, and he goes, let's talk about why Bitcoin is conservative. Let's talk about why this is your coin and this is your industry. So, Michael, how is Bitcoin conservative? Why should it be important to this audience, the largest conservative conference in the world? Bitcoin literally represents the conservation of energy in cyberspace. Satoshi implemented a protocol which is inherently conservative. If I send Bitcoin to you, I lose it, you have it. I can't create more. I can't lie about it. The thing that's beautiful about nature is conservation of energy. Conservative is based on natural law. It's based on the idea that if you just make something up which isn't true, you'll be punished. And the Bitcoin network represents that innate integrity and truth. So, if you think about the world today, there's just an inherent force. There's a struggle between capitalism and socialism, between people that believe in freedom and free markets and those that believe in central planning and collectivism. And if I'm a socialist, I want to take away your guns and your money. And Bitcoin is money that they can't take away. Like, what freedom do you have if you have all of your money in a bank that can freeze it? What freedom do you have if you have your money embedded in a currency that where someone can print 4x more of it without your approval and debase it to zero? What freedom do you have if you own real estate in a city where the mayor can put rent control on it or expropriate it, or the governor can tax it away from your family? What freedom do you have if all your wealth is in a business where the government can tell you you can't operate, shut down your pipeline, tax your employees, tax your income, regulate your product? And the answer is, you only have conditional freedom until the government changes and they just take away that freedom. And then when they take away your wealth, when they take away your economic power, they're going to starve you to death, and then you've got nothing. So Bitcoin represents putting your economic wealth in cyberspace. It's beyond the reach of the mayor, beyond the reach of the governor, beyond the reach of any nation state, beyond the reach of any other company that would do you harm. It is the first time in the history of the human race that you can bind economic energy tightly to an individual, to a family, to your company, and you don't have to ask permission to have economic wealth, to have money. And you don't have to live in fear that someone gets up on a morning and just takes it all away from you.
So there you have it. We've heard from Saylor there. He ended a video clip with just saying that Bitcoin is the economic shield. Now, if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate you hitting the like, subscribing for more related content. Let me know where you're watching from. What did you enjoy from the clip? If there's any feedback you can share. Thank you guys for watching. Take care.